Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Perpetual here. If you're new, you're warmly welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today as we make the best fried chicken you've ever had. Come along and let's get started. This fried chicken recipe definitely brings back a lot of childhood memories. I hope you enjoy it. And as always, the exact measurements will be in the description box below. Alright, time to get started. I'm just starting by chopping up some ginger and garlic. Now, one thing that I like to do, especially around the busier times of the year for me, is peel my ginger and my garlic and freeze it so that when it's time for me to use it, I can just pop it out of the freezer and use it immediately. And once it goes into my blender, I am adding some habanero peppers as well as some chopped onions. And to help it blend, I'm adding a little bit of water and I'm gonna go ahead and start blending it until it is nice and smooth. To get started on the chicken, I'm just rinsing it with a little bit of water and some vinegar. You can also use lemon juice. And after washing it, I'm going to transfer it into my cooking pot, and that's where I'm going to be steaming the chicken. The first ingredient to season my chicken will be nutmeg. So I am using freshly grated. You can also use ground nutmeg. Next up, I am putting in a few teaspoons of my all-purpose seasoning mix. You can of course use any all-purpose seasoning that you have. If you'd like to use my specific one, I'm going to leave a link in the description box below. And I'm also adding a little bit of salt. At this point, our blended mix of ginger, garlic, and all the other aromatics can be added onto our chicken, and this is where you're gonna get a lot of flavor. You're gonna give it a nice stir, and if you have the time, this can marinate for a few hours up to overnight before steaming it. All right, so I don't usually like a lot of stock or water around my chicken, so I'm going to put it on the stove without any additional water, as the chicken will give off a lot as well. This is going to cook for about 30 minutes, and I'm just going to be stirring it occasionally. One thing to keep in mind is that if you're using farm fresh chicken, it may take a little bit longer to cook, but if you're just using the regular type of chicken from the grocery store, you can reduce the cooking time by a few minutes. Once it gets nice and hot, I am going to give it one final stir, and then I'm going to take out my chicken. And before we continue, as usual, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notification as well so that you know when I upload more amazing videos. Now, once the chicken goes out, you're going to have a substantial amount of chicken stock left in your pot. What I like to do is let it continue cooking until it is nice and concentrated, and then I transfer it into a jar and keep it in the freezer for my other dishes. And I have some hot oil on my stove, and I just added a few cloves of garlic just to flavor the oil before I start frying my chicken. And herbs like rosemary and basil are a perfect addition to the garlic as well for flavoring your oil. And once the oil is nice and hot, I'm going to start by adding a batch of my chicken. I do not want to overcrowd my pan, so I'm just adding a few pieces at a time. Now I noticed that my garlic was getting a little too brown and I don't want the bitter aftertaste of the garlic. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the garlic from my oil as its job is done. And after about 5 minutes, I'm going to start flipping the chicken so that the other side can also get nice and brown and crispy and tasty. It already looks so good. Now, you know I love close-ups of my food, right? Take that in. It looks so good. I cannot wait to dig in, and I cannot wait for you to try this simple but so delicious recipe out. So once it's brown on both sides, I'm going to go ahead and remove it, and I'll be just placing it on a lined plate. I just lined it with some paper towel, and we're going to fry the next batch. I think every kid who grew up in Ghana has some memory of this type of fried chicken. And of course, if you're like my husband who just enjoys this becomes a snack in our household. So this definitely goes on more times, even when it's not the holidays. While the second batch fries, I am just checking on the stock. It is nice and thick now, and I'm just transferring it into a jar to go into the freezer. Once the chicken was done, I just garnished it with some bell peppers and onions. And of course, I had some hot pepper on the side to use as a dip. And as usual, zooming in so you can take in all the gorgeousness. I know you want to bring your plate, but this is so easy to make that I know that you will recreate it. And when you do, be sure to send me pictures. If I brought back some childhood memories, and if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. And remember to tell a friend about my amazing channel. And thank you all so much for coming along with me on this delicious journey. I will see you again very soon. Take care.